Hey folks, this is Ardwulf. Welcome back. This is turn 4 of our playthrough series of When Eagles Fight, Eastern Front of World War I. And I'm giving you a wide shot here of the situation as it stands going into November, December 1914. Down here against Austro-Hungary, the Russians are pushing fairly hard with a fairly thin line. They've got a couple of objectives that they want to take in the next couple of turns. We're going to talk about that later on in this episode. But up here in the north, the Germans have dealt a very serious blow to the Russians in turn 3. The German line is not exactly bristling with troops, but a large number of Russian casualties were taken last turn, if you watched that episode. If you haven't, then I encourage you to check that out. So let's zoom in and see what we're doing for turn 4. So let me apologize for the shakiness here, but I wanted to give you a decent look at the turn record track. We're going to advance the game turn marker to turn 3, and we're going to pull off some reinforcements. Stavka becomes available this turn, but we're going to leave it there for now. And we have a number of very badly needed German reinforcements that will be cycling in right now. The Russians are taking a fairly serious beating up in the north here against the Germans. We're going to place the Russians are taking a pretty serious beating up here in the north, and we're going to have to reconsolidate this line. In the meantime, however, we need to use what rail capacity the Russians do have to get some more guys down to the Austro-Hungarian front, which is what we will talk about when the Russian movement phase starts. But in the meantime, I'm going to drop a corps here in... Nope, I can't do that. It has to go in a city. So we're going to put both these corps in Minsk. And these guys we will leave up here. We're going to need to rail these guys down to the Austro-Hungarian frontier because we have things that need to happen down in that sector. Now, there are no, that was replacements, there are no regular reinforcements, there's no withdrawal, so we move to the Central Powers phase. So let's zoom in and see what the Austrians are doing. The Austrians get no reinforcements in this or any other turn, but they do have 4 replacement points, and they have 3 accumulated so far. But they're probably going to take a significant number of losses this turn. So let me fix this before we go on so I don't forget it. This unit right here, after checking the supply rules, is actually out of supply. Given that, what I'm going to actually do is move this here because this unit doesn't really need to be there. This hex is in supply, this hex is not because it's too far from a friendly controlled city. So I'm going to make that adjustment. It's another little flip, little screw up I made. Not the first and not the last. So I appreciate the patience of everyone watching and putting up with me as I learn the rules and frankly as I learn how to effectively make these videos with the equipment that I have too. So anyway, we're going to take a look at the Austro-Hungarian replacements. They get 4. They only have 3 they can build, so they're going to accumulate an extra one. So we're going to rebuild all 3 of these units. We're going to place 1 in Krakow, which brings that to the stacking limit. These Austro-Hungarian units enter play initially at 674s, but when you rebuild them, they are much lousier 343s. So we're going to put these 2 units in Budapest. We're going to talk next about German reinforcements and see where those are going. Okay, so these 6 counters represent our available German reinforcements. We have 2 cavalry corps and 2 cavalry corps and 2 infantry corps, and we've got one of these fortress replacement units, which will go to Breslau, which is right here. So basically, what I'm going to elect to do is to pull this out, and then the reduced strength fortress unit goes in, and on top of it goes the infantry unit, and then this guy comes out and goes back into the counter tray. These 4 units will enter along the west map edge. Now here's another little tidbit that I didn't notice before, and this would have made a difference too, actually. German units that enter on the west map edge on a rail line are eligible for strategic movement. So we are going to definitely place all of these on a rail line because we definitely want to get them right up to the front against the Russians. We may send looking at what's here. I think I'm going to send probably the 2 cavalry corps and this infantry unit down to help the Austrians. But we'll get to that. There are no mandatory withdrawals for the Germans yet either. These tend to occur due to events in that or previous turns. So we don't really have to worry about that until next turn when we actually start to roll on the random events table. So let us move on to strategic movement. Okay, so Russian strategic movement is limited to 5 units. Now we've got a couple units in here kind of occupying a central position. These units are going to stay where they are. Where we are going to send units is down here to a city in Austro-Hungary. And it looks like the only really eligible city for that is Lemberg. So we're going to pull 1, 2 here to Lemberg. I don't think we have any 2-step units available. No, we don't. 3 to Lemberg. I can theoretically move guys down in here into Ivangorod, but I'm not going to. That was 3. I'm going to take 2 more from... Oops, those are guys... Actually, these guys are eligible for strategic movement. We'll take these guys and put them here, because we're going to try and punch a big hole in the center of the Austro-Hungarian line this turn. And I'll get to explaining why once we've finished with strategic movement. Austria has a limit of 4. So let me reposition the camera for this, because right now you really can't see much of what's going on in Austria-Hungary. Okay, so hopefully by the way this episode has a little bit better lighting. I certainly hope so. So we're looking for cities here. I don't think there are any. I can reinforce 2. There aren't. And the Russians will move first. So we will not have an opportunity to bolster the very soft center of this line. What we can do is take these units and move them here. There's no way the Russians can get to Budapest from their current position without going out of supply, at which point they're eliminated, as is the case with Vienna, without taking this city, and maybe even in Breslau. Yeah, they would need to take Breslau too, and I'm not sure they're going to do that. The Russians, actually, I think I said the Russians need 3 cities or victory hexes in Austria-Hungary by turn 6 to win the game. And that's actually not true. They need 4. They need 3 in Germany. Either or. 3 in Germany or 4 in Austria. And that number will fluctuate from victory check turn to victory check turn. But for turn 6, it's 4 in Austria-Hungary and 3 in Germany. So basically we need to take Krakow and probably this one, because we control 2 already. We control... Lemberg, and then this city right here, Czernowitz, which is a victory hit city as well. So, if the Russians can take this mountain pass hex, which they may be able to by turn 3, but they're going to need a lot happening here to make that occur. And Krakow, they'll be okay. So, that's what we're going to try to do. In fact, I may end up pulling this unit down here to help support that effort. But let's move on to the German. The Austrians have done their strategic movement, so let's go and move the map again and see what the Germans are doing. I'm trying to do closer shots to eliminate the focus issues that you've probably noticed in earlier episodes, but this particular shot has to be fairly wide because I've got to show the west map edge and this stuff that's going on up here. It seems to me that as the Germans, I have the Russians on the run. Now, I don't have Oberost available this turn, and the Russians do have Stavka available this turn, but I have a rail capacity of 6 within Germany or Russia, but that's actually irrelevant. We're going to move these 2 units, strategically move them up to the city of Lützen, which is right on the front lines. And that is a reduced strength active corps. I don't get any replacements for the Germans. And we can't actually send anybody down to Krakow because it's at its stacking capacity already. So I think what we will actually do is send this fortress conversion unit over to, where's this, Insterburg, and bolster that up. And then we will send these guys. You know what? Let's redo that. Keep this one in Breslau, and we'll move it down conventionally. And we'll take these guys and rail them up to Insterburg because they're cavalry and they have more ability. And there's a gap there in the Russian lines, which we're going to try to exploit. So we're going to try, as the Germans, we're making a full effort to continue beating the Russians into the tundra. So that is the strategic movement phase. So let us move on next to the Russian player turn, and I'm going to once again break that up into two pieces just for the sake of camera work, and we'll start with the Russians in the south against Austria-Hungary. Okay, so for the Russian regular movement phase, we want to hit this hex right here, which means we want to max out these hexes around it. So we're going to move, let's see here, that is a river, which is as terrain and hex for movement purposes. So we're going to go these two units, 1, 2, 3, move that there, move this guy, 1, 2, this guy, 1, 2, 3. That is 30 factors to 2. So we are actually going to see a super high odds attack there. Oh, and by the way, we're placing Stavka there as well. Now the rest of the line needs to make some adjustments, particularly over here in the east where things, the Austro-Hungarian part of the line just kind of fell apart. So we're going to move this entire stack, one hex right here, and we'll move these guys and these guys into Zernikau, or however you pronounce that. And we're going to actually hit this end of the line again. And we're actually going to move this here. Make sure that is in supply. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe we need to be 4 hexes from a supply source. Or we need to trace 4 hexes from a supply source. Let me just verify that again, because that's something I wasn't really paying tons of attention to. No longer than 4 hexes to a supply source. Okay, and there isn't one except here in Ivanograd. So we are actually going to have to, instead of doing this, what we are going to have to do is we're going to have to hit on here. So we're going to spread these guys out just a little bit. And we're going to try and collapse that that western flank of the line as well. Now we've got this unit, which we're going to move. Forest is 2 to move, so that's 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I can't pick up any of that with Stavka, unfortunately. Stavka has a range of effect of 1 hex from where Stavka is placed. Oberost has a range of 2 hexes. Okay, so my camera managed to lose the video of me actually conducting the Russian movements. However, you can see what we've done here up on the line with the Germans. We are shooting to consolidate our defensive position into strong points. And you know, there's a bunch of forested area up here that cost extra to move through, so I would like to pull everybody back into a nice little line up here, but I just don't have that ability. I'm also going to move this unit from down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a railroad. Well, if I leave him back here, he's never going to do anything because I'm never going to have enough rail capacity, and my rail capacity as Russia goes down actually next turn. So I'm going to move this guy up 2 hexes. We're going to move, what's marsh cost to enter is also 2, so we're going to move this in 2 hexes. We are literally walking these guys I'm going to move this guy up 2 hexes as well. And this unit, actually, since we're still in the Russian movement phase, I have no particularly good reason not to try to move this guy 1, 2, 3, 4. That totally works. And that gives us a better attack down here. Obviously, we won't be, well, this is about as far back as this guy can get. That's the problem. He can't get to this fortress or this city. So he's going to have to hole up here in Oswick. And we'll see how badly that holds out against what looks like it might well be a sustained German assault. We're going to see what the Germans do. It's going to be actually really interesting when we get to their turn. But in the meantime, let's go to the Russian combat phase, and we'll hop back over to the Austro-Hungarian front. Okay, so we've zoomed in, I think, just enough to see the 3 attacks that I'm making here, and they're all going to be pretty high odds attacks. So this is going to have 6 defensive factors, and it's going to be hit from these 2 hexes. Remember that as of right now, we can still combine more than 2 units. So this is 15 attack factors. That's 21, 27, 32 attack factors versus 6. That is 5 to 1. We do have a town here, which does not... I keep calling towns cities, by the way, in the videos, so they're not. They're towns. The gray ones... I'm not sure you can see any on the map, but like Krakow here, those, you can't even see that on the map. Well, there isn't one on the map right now, but I'll show you one later. They're obvious as cities. So we're going to make a 5 to 1 attack here. Looking at terrain effects, I don't believe there are any. There aren't. We don't have Stavka in play either. Let's see where I can get the cup. Right there, that totally works. Now we're going to roll on the 5 to 1 column on the CRT. That is a 5. We don't have any special modifiers here, but we are at 5 to 1. Attacker takes 0, and the defender is eliminated. So the defender is eliminated here. Okay, so I had to check the advance after combat rule for that because I'm studying like 3 games at the same time and I'm freaking confused. So let's move this unit, and this unit into this city of this town of Tarnow as our advance after combat. And let's move on to this one. Now, Stavka applies here, and we're going to get some additional pluses too. We're at 2 defense factors. We have 5, 5 and 5, 5, 5 and 5. That is 15 to 1. So we actually get +1 to the roll. This actually seems like a total friggin' waste. Let's think about this. Let's think a little harder about this. We have 15 factors here against 4. That's 3 to 1. And we get a +1 on the roll. And if I'm not mistaken, there's no defensive business there. So that would be 3 to 1. Ah, no. That's 15 plus 6. So 21 to 4. That's 5 to 1 here. And then against this, we would have 15 to 2, which would be 7 to 1. That is actually significantly smarter, I think. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually attack in 2 places. And we're still in the combat phase, so it's completely reasonable of me to make that decision now. So we're going to have 21 here versus 4. That is, once again, 5 to 1, +1 for Stavka. That's a total of 6. That's a breakthrough and an elimination. Now, this unit will go into the dead pile. The unit's already been rebuilt once. And let's look at the breakthrough. Okay, so here's how the breakthrough works. I've placed markers on these 2 stacks to show that these are the 2 stacks that attacked. They can advance up to 3 hexes, and the first hex they advance into has to be the hex that they attacked. However, units stacked adjacent to the attacking hexes can also advance in here up to 2 hexes, and the first hex they cross into has to be a hex that was just vacated by one of the attacking units. So we're going to do this. Move this guy here, here, and here. What does mountain cost to enter? 2. This unit will advance 1, 2. Let's make sure this bozo's in supply where he's at here. I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on. This unit will advance here. And then this guy will advance 1, 2. Well, hold on. This guy will actually advance here. And then this guy will advance 1, 2 to here. And that leaves us with a 10 to 1 plus 1 on this. I did adjust that for... Yes, I did. Okay, good. Okay, so there's our attack and fairly serious breakthrough into Austria-Hungary. So for the next attack, we only have these 2 units left to attack this, but it's still 10 attacking factors versus 2, and it's still up 1 for Stavka. Where did Stavka even go? Here's Stavka. It was here. So we're still at a 5 to 1 plus 1. So anything higher than, well, I don't want to jinx it. Let's see what we get. We have a 3. So adjusted, that's a 4, that's a 0, and an elimination. So we've eliminated this as well. And that goes into the dead pile. And then these 2 units can advance as well. And we have to leave one where it's at because A, it's a victory hex, and B, it's we have to maintain supply to this hex or else all this stuff goes out of supply and we have a bad day. And then for our final attack down here on the end of the line, we have 6 defending factors against 11, 17, 23, 29, 6 against 29. It's too bad I don't have one more factor there for a 5 to 1, but it's a 4 to 1. So that's pretty good odds, and there's no plus 1 to this. Let's verify that there's no terrain that's affecting it. There isn't. That's a 3 on the 4 to 1. Defender loses 1 step, I believe. Yeah, that's one of these double-sided, single-step Austro-Hungarian units, so that is eliminated. And we're going to move these 2 units here, and we'll move that there as well. So the Austro-Hungarian line has just totally collapsed. There's actually something that I spotted after we conducted the Russian turn that was a significant thing that they could have done. I don't think it's necessarily in their interests to do it, but I probably would have done it had I thought of it. That just involves an extra piece of movement that I could have done. So that is the conclusion of the Russian combat phase. For the Russian attrition phase, everything of the Russians should be in supply at this point. I'm going to place some extra Russian control markers down here so that we can remember that there's, where is the supply hex here? I believe it's right here. Nope. It's right here. So everybody can trace 4 hexes to one of these. And actually, let's put another one here. Because these guys are kind of on the edge down here, although 1, 2, 3, 4, they can actually trace to here as well. So just to keep supply in mind, I'm quite certain, now the cities themselves, the supply sources of the cities and towns actually have to be able to trace supply as well along a rail line. But that's not going to be really a factor, I don't think, at the moment. Hey, at least the Austrians will have some steps to rebuild. but they took it on the chin this turn. Of course, we have a Central Powers movement phase before we can do combat phase, and the Austrians, who don't really have much to attack, certainly have some moving they can do. Okay, so what I've done here is to concentrate the Austro-Hungarian units around Krakow and try and protect this rail line, which is Krakow's source of supply. This other one, which could theoretically supply Krakow, is already cut by the Russians. And then let's move back up to the eastern side of the line to show what they're doing up there. Okay, so Austria-Hungary has to protect this hex. So let's see what we can do here. This is their best defensive unit. They can move 1, 2, 3. This is a mountain pass. It costs 1 movement point. So that's 1, 2 for the forest, 3, 4. And then this is 1, 2 for the forest, 3, 4. And then these guys can... Ooh, that's not cool. Nope. Ziget, they can trace to there. Now these guys can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see how much Austrian stuff I can bail out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Austria has been pushed back to the mountains. These, I would imagine, are the Carpathian Mountains, although they are not labeled as such on the map, and to Krakow. If the Russians, by the victory phase in turn 6, can take this hex with the star and Krakow, which is off camera again, then they will win the game. So that's what the Russians are trying to do. And right now, who last occupied this hex? The Austro-Hungarian. So I'm going to actually put an Austro-Hungarian control marker in there to indicate that. Okay, so with the Germans, one thing we're going to do is we're going to take this Fortress Replacement Legion and go 1, 2, 3 to put that in loads so that we can not lose that city to sudden Russian bullshit. Otherwise, what do we got up here? We've got some cavalry. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move this cav unit 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I need to check that river as terrain and hex. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 to hit this in Warsaw to protect Warsaw. And we're going to move this German active corps 1, 2, 3. This is a lake hex, which is, I think it's just a marsh hex actually, so it costs 2, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do that. Okay. Now I need to maintain something of a defensive line here, so we're going to put that there. And we can trace 1, 2, 3, 4 there. We'll pull this up here. Actually, no, hold on, this was here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll try and use the tweezers so you can actually see what I'm doing a little bit better. This is going to be 1, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to move out one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have this cavalry over here. We need to maintain something in Insterburg. So I'm going to leave a cavalry there. And we'll move the infantry first. We're going to move him 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. And then we're going to move this unit, the cav, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to take that hex. That actually places us within striking distance of, it's somewhat off map, but Riga is just a little bit to the north of that. So that looks pretty good. And the Germans might have an attack here. Let's see what they can do. We have 13 defensive factors there, and we have 10 15, 20, 25. So we have a 2-to-1. We have a German active core, which gives us a +1. But we also have a city, which gives us a -1, and a fortress, which gives us another -1. So I'm not particularly rosy on those odds. So let's take a different example here. This has 9. This hex has 9 defensive factors in it. And we're looking at like a 1-to-1 attack on that, which is garbage. We've still got this cavalry division, which can move up to 6. So we'll move him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's not doing that. So he's moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that way. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't think the Germans are really in a good position to attack this turn. However, next turn, with Oberost, I think it might be different. Let's look at this hex, actually. Let's take this guy and put him back in Warsaw. This is a reduced strength. We're going to actually move this unit up, the infantry. 1, 2, 3, 4. To there, to give us a little bit better action on this fortress at Osawika, I don't know. And this isn't looking so good, but this cavalry corps could come in and help support that as well, I suppose. And then we have this unit. I'll have to move the camera to show this. We have this unit down in Breslau, which can go 1, 2, 3, 4, down to try and help out the Austro-Hungarians. Which, boy, ain't much help, to be completely honest about it. You know what? I'm actually better off moving that 1, 2, 3, 4 right here to try and cut off a Russian attempt to take Vienna. But they have to take Krakow first, because they need the rail line that runs. The Russians would have they would need this rail line, and that rail line runs through Krakow. So they have to take Krakow. So let's think about this carefully. Let's do this instead. We're going to take this unit and go 1, 2, 3, 4 and move it to Lodz, where it can potentially react up here, and it's 1 turn of movement away. Even in the best case scenario, it would still be 1 turn of movement away from the action down here. So there's not much we can do about this except hope for the best out of the Austrians, I suppose. The Austrians got a shot to hold this off here, and in fact, we have one more piece of Austrian movement that we can do. Let me change the camera around again. Okay, these 2 units are here in Ungvar, and that's a 116 cav, which we'll keep there. But we'll also take this 343 infantry corps and put it also in the mountain pass. So we've got that mountain pass pretty much stacked with as many guys as we can get into it. That is the road, literally the road to Budapest there. So I don't see an intelligent attack that I could make. I could make a 2-to-1 against the fortress up here in Kovno. It's 2-to-1 down 1, which is just not good odds. So I want to say that the Germans have done what they can do, and the Central Powers, I should say, have done what they can do for this movement phase. So checking again for Central Powers attrition, I want to say that the Central Powers are pretty much okay. Everything they have is either close to a supply source or connected to the rail net. Budapest is pretty secure. It would take a long time for the Austrians or the Russians to crash through these mountains. More time than they have, I think. Krakow is as well fortified as I can possibly make it. So, and it's got a couple of speed bumps around it, which are about as good as I can do. My play with the Austro-Hungarians has been really pretty much as inept as Austro-Hungarian strategy was in the actual war. So with Germany, on the other hand, I'm very happy, but then again, I'm concentrating my Russian efforts against Austria-Hungary because it is the vulnerable power in the equation. So I think we're satisfied with this. The attrition phase is complete. We don't have a victory check phase here in turn 4. So this brings us to the end of the episode. So I want to thank you for watching. Episode 5 for turn 5 will be coming up very shortly, and I encourage you to check that out. Please subscribe to the channel and leave me some feedback in the comments below. Thanks for watching.